Hi, welcome to Project Geospatial. I'm Adam Simmons, once again at the GEOINT 2022 Symposium out in Denver, Colorado. Here with me at the HySpecIQ booth is Katie Salvaggio. Katie, how about you introduce yourself? Tell me who you are. You're actually Dr. Salvaggio, aren't you?
I am.
Yes. So doctor in what? Tell me about yourself and we'll dive into HySpecIQ.
Yeah, so my name is Katie Salvaggio. I have a PhD in imaging science from the Rochester Institute of Technology.
Awesome.
So yeah, I was there and studying. I actually in high school loved sort of math and photography, and I discovered imaging science, and it sort of combined all of the things that I liked. So I did my undergraduate there, and then I stayed on for grad school.
An excellent place with a long history of image science with this community too.
Yes, Rochester is grounded in optics, and RIT is well known in this world. So
excellent. Well, how did you get involved with this? And let's dive into HySpecIQ.
Yeah, so it was probably 8 months or so ago. A colleague of mine from grad school, I guess, reached out to me and asked if I was interested in joining a startup. I didn't answer him at first because startup life, right? And I wasn't sure. I was at a national lab at the time, and I was kind of in that world. And we have all these resources and exquisite scientists and things like that. And I wasn't sure I wanted to leave that community, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. I think that hyperspectral is one of the next things coming in the GEOINT world. We've watched the community kind of move from high spatial resolution, for a decade, and then we had this push towards higher temporal resolution, and I think the spectral resolution is the next thing.
Well, it makes total sense. It's not like it hasn't been out there, but just like like you're just saying, EO moved on to SAR. Probably not long we're gonna have infrared as a focus point, but overall, diving into the stack of hyperspectral makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so there's a lot of cool stuff in hyperspectral. So he got me on that, and I reached back out and joined the company in August.
Well, speaking of the company, let's talk about HySpecIQ. What is it? Tell me about it.
HySpecIQ is a satellite-based hyperspectral analytics company. So we are building and launching our own hyperspectral satellites, and then looking to develop the analytics platform to make it so that people can actually use the data.
How many satellites are you talking about here?
Initially 2, and then ultimately building a constellation of 12.
Excellent. What kind of revisit rate are we looking at?
With a single satellite, it'll be a 7-day revisit rate with the same collection parameters if you're looking at nadir, but we do have the ability to point off nadir. So if you're willing to accept a different look angle, we can get down to about 3 days with a single satellite, and I would imagine that'll be closer to daily with the full constellation.
How big is the footprint?
The footprint, it's about 11 by 13 kilometers, I believe. It's a point target system, so we're a very high spatial resolution system, so that gives us a smaller footprint. But that also has advantages in terms of applications and what we can see.
You being a spectral scientist, what is the value of hyperspectral over other sensors?
I think that the value of hyperspectral is in signature understanding. So, you can see things obviously in EO and other platforms, but you're looking at objects, you're looking at shapes, you're looking at colors. There's all sorts of interesting things that are hidden in that reflected spectra. Chemical properties of materials, physical properties of materials. So there's all sorts of stuff that you can kind of dig in there and figure out about what you're looking at. So if you're looking at rooftops, being able to actually identify this is what that rooftop material is made of, or maybe it looks different than it did the last time I was there, and that kind of thing. So I really think that that's the power of hyperspectral, is in signature understanding, more so than you can do from multispectral or EO, because you can
That's great. So in terms of when do you plan on being online? What's the schedule for getting the satellites up?
We are looking at a launch date of 2024.
Okay, excellent. So still a little early?
Yeah.
Excellent. So to wrap things up, that's awesome about HySpecIQ. I want to kind of go back for a second. For our younger audience, what would you say to them to get them inspired about the geospatial community, image science as a whole? What do you find so awesome about the work that you do?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I love it. I love this community. I think it's just so cool that we get to observe the Earth and watch the changes. And there's so many different applications, right? It can have the national security implications, and you can take that path and do that in your career. But you can also sit down and look at at the environment and make an impact in natural disaster kind of monitoring and all of those other sort of environmental effects that are so important to our community. And it's very cool. There's all sorts of cool data science and math and physics, and you can really make it what you want. It's such an awesome community to be a part of.
Study image science, right? There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Katie, I want to thank you for giving us an overview of not just yourself, but as well as this awesome new startup. And we look forward to the launches in a couple of years.
Thank you so much.
Yes. I'm Adam Simmons, Project Geospatial, here at the HySpecIQ booth at the GEOINT Symposium. We'll talk to everybody next time.